As baseball's winter meetings get underway, the Dodgers make a move, acquiring all-star closer Aroldis Chapman from the Reds in exchange for a pair of prospects. The deal pending a review of medical records, and the news first broken by Fox's Ken Rosenthal. Dodgers also a player for Hisashi Iwakuma, reportedly closing in on a deal with the starting pitcher who had a no-hitter with the Mariners last season. Also have some news in the NFL. After sitting for a couple of weeks for off-field incidents, Johnny Manziel is expected to be back under center for the Browns against the 49ers on Sunday. While the college football playoffs have been finalized, top-ranked Clemson will face number 4 Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl in one national semifinal. Number 2 Alabama takes on number 3 at Michigan State in the Cotton Bowl in the other. Both of these games take place on New Year's Eve. Breaking.
Have mercy. This is Billy F. Gibbons right here, and you're listening to AD on the radio.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio.
Every day you're going and working, running that rat race and that pace and that place will leave a bad taste for anyone, everyone working day after day. So buddy, I gotta say, yo, there's gotta be a better way, yeah. And you do what they told ya, company man, feel it, a mindless little soldier. How can you live like that and maintain your composure? Before it's begun, your life's already freaking over. Yeah, I do what I want, when I want, how I want. Yeah, I do what I want, when I want, how I want. This is my United States of whatever. Picture me feeling.
So, Scott Weiland, legendary lead singer of Stone Temple Pilots, passed away this past week, just gone by. They found his body on his tour bus. I think they were wondering where he was, trying to get him to go on stage, and not having a whole lot of luck. They were playing a place, I think right outside Minneapolis, Minnesota, and right around 9 o'clock, they're like, hey, where's Scott? And the answer was, well, Scott wasn't anywhere anymore. So do you, I don't know if you grew up like me in the same sort of time that I did. A lot of 90s kids remember this. Do you remember using, I don't know how you got to school. Maybe you're on your school bus, or maybe you were, I don't know. But it seemed essential that no matter what mode of transportation you used to get off to school in the morning, it seemed essential that you had tunage to keep you company, to make the ride in that much easier, whether you're walking or skateboarding or taking a school bus. And I took the school bus, and my Walkman, you needed that thing. But you would try and save the batteries, because if you use the rewind function on your Walkman, all too soon, you'd start noticing a little inconsistency in your music. And because it was a cassette tape, you'd be like, wait a second, is the tape warping, or is my battery just running out? You remember those horrific, oh my gosh, it was just the worst, when you had your favorite tape and for whatever reason your Walkman ate it. Like you'd pull, it would slow down and stop. You're like, wait, did my battery run out? Oh man. And you'd have this tangled mess of cassette tape to deal with afterwards. It goes back to my thing of music being less valuable somehow in this day and age, because people don't have to fight for it anymore. There's not as much struggle to enjoy your music. Music is thrown at you on demand in 18 different forms, and it's more like, you have to edit out the music that you're going to actually spend time listening to, whereas back in the day, if you were a kid, you had to figure out a way. Well, first and foremost, you had to hear a song on the radio, then hear it enough times to catch the chucklehead DJ either at the front or the back end of the song tell you who it was. Then you had to write that down. Then you had to get a ride, if you were young enough, get a ride to the music store, and go spend your hard-earned childhood dollars, 12, 15, whatever it was, on a compact disc or a cassette. And then you had to struggle with the shrink wrap and slice your finger open with one of those CD openers or whatever it was, or bite the tape box because you couldn't get the little tear started necessary to get it out. And then you had it. But it was all that struggle to get some music. And then you had to deal with your Walkman, your Sony Walkman eating your precious tape. And for some reason, I think because we had to work harder for it, music meant a little bit more. I don't know. But do you remember using your ballpoint pen to rewind tapes. Do you remember using your ballpoint pen to rewind Core by Stone Temple Pilots so you could listen to Cracker Man over and over again? Because I do. Scott Weiland gave us so much incredible music that endured for decades, that has endured for decades. And not only did Scott Weiland write these songs that could absolutely 100% inspire the masses, but when you saw Scott Weiland, you couldn't take your eyes off of him, whether it was on TV or whether it was live, or it could have been an interview, it could have been a live performance. Just, he had that thing where you couldn't take your eyes off of him. He had such talent and such presence and such charisma that he could win over literally anyone. Sadly, it kind of sort of seems like the only person he couldn't win over and convince of his value was himself. Look, his struggles with the things that could end him, his struggles with that which could take him off this earth were well documented. And you know what the really sad part is to me? It seems like even when Scott Weiland was here, he created this huge thing. 45 million albums sold, I think, something like that. Stadiums full of adoring fans singing along to every song because they meant something to them. He created this incredible thing. And even when he was here, he couldn't enjoy what he created. The poor guy had so much cause for joy and happiness. But I'm not sure if he ever got out of his own way long enough to feel it. You know, talking to some friends about Scott Weiland passing away, it's almost like this is a guy that, it's almost like we missed him before he was even gone. Whether it's because we knew what was inevitably coming down the pike, whether it was because he just seemed prophetically almost like half the man he used to be. It's almost like he wasn't there from the get-go when it became apparent the type of person he was, the type of demons he was struggling with. I think we all missed him before he was gone. We're sad for his friends and family and loved ones, and we're thankful for the music that he gave us that will live on and on and on. Good night, Scott.
This feels so understood.
iHeartRadio puts the spotlight on Steely Dan. Walter Becker and Donald Fagen met in 1967 at Bard College in New York when Fagen heard Becker playing guitar and asked if he wanted to be in a band. The pair soon began playing in local groups together, including the Leather Canary, which included future SNL cast member Chevy Chase on drums. After Fagen graduated in 1969, the two moved to Brooklyn and got their first professional gig working on the soundtrack to the Richard Pryor film, You've Got to Walk It Like You Talk It or You'll Lose That Beat. They also wrote Barbra Streisand's 1971 song, I Mean to Shine. In 1972, Becker and Fagen moved to L.A. to become songwriters and joined with guitarist Denny Diaz and Jeff Skunk Baxter, drummer Jim Hodder, and singer David Palmer to form Steely Dan, taking the name from the book Naked Lunch. Their debut album, Can't Buy a Thrill, was released in 1972, spawning hit singles Reelin' in the Years and Do It Again. All things Steely Dan, info, music, and more are on iHeartRadio, keyword Steely Dan.
And now a look back at This Week in History.
Hi, I'm Chris, and this week in 1787, Delaware became the first state to ratify the Constitution, thus avoiding the intimidating independent country of Delaware. In 1796, John Adams was elected the second president of the United States. Nitrous oxide was used for the first time in dentistry in 1884. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol was first published this week in 1843. Levant M. Richardson received a patent for the roller skate. December 9th, 1884. December 11th, 1896, Marconi gave the first public demonstration of radio in London. Just the name Marconi makes me swoon.
That's your look back at This Week in History. Real Radio 104.1.
Like most kids from a privileged white upper middle class suburban background, for a significant portion of his childhood, he was pretty convinced he was down. AD on the radio.
Let's go. Talking that mess, better act like you know. Let's go tonight. Walk away, punk, yeah, bitch. That's right, I know this. You're nothing but a punk, bitch. You're nothing but a punk, bitch. So walk away, yeah, yeah. You've been talking about me for a long time.
So Funkhauser.
Yeah. Good morning.
I would like for you, he said in his best impersonation of you. His best impersonation of Eddie Murphy impersonating Bill Cosby, which I'm not very good at, so I should probably just not try that in the future. I would like for you to really think about this next question I'm asking you, because Funkhauser has a long history of leaving out all the good bits, as we say. He leaves out all the good bits, and I know that I point to this story over and over again, but it is the best indicator of how Funkhauser leaves out the aforementioned good bits. We were having a conversation on this show very early on. It was when Funkhauser and I were still kind of getting to know each other. We were put together as coworkers by the Grand Dragons of talk radio, and we decided we liked each other, but we still had to figure out, how we related to each other on the air. First time I ever met Funkhauser. A lot of people don't know this, but we don't do this show in the same room. We've only been...
We don't? I thought you were here the whole time. That's not you right there?
No, I don't know who the hell that is. You better call security, bro. But here's the thing. We've only met in person the one time out of, what is it, a year and a half of working together now, Funkhauser?
At least. I think we're nearing 2 at this point.
Yeah, we're coming up on our second birthday. We only met once. And it was like Funkhauser happened to be in the same town I was in right around the time that we found out we'd be working together. And I was like, oh, okay. He was like, yeah, we should meet. I was like, if you want to. I've never met any of my other producer co-hosts, but fine.
I happen to be visiting northern Germany where you live.
Yeah, Achtung. But so we meet, and Funkhauser walks up to me in the parking lot, and I go to extend the manly greeting of a handshake, and he goes, "No, I'm a hugger," and hugs me. And that sort of set the tone for our whole relationship. It was good. I decided right away, I like this guy. Good individual. But we were still kind of figuring out, sort of like each other on the air, I suppose. Yeah, Funkhauser had...
It's like Dancing with the Stars, But we're talking instead of dancing.
Sure, yeah. And neither of us are stars. But then seeing the lineup on the most recent Dancing with the Stars, I think that puts us right in the wheelhouse. But Funkhauser had worked with a lot of sort of temperamental prima donna radio host. Am I correct in saying that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And didn't know that I wasn't one of those. I'm not one of those, right, Funkhauser?
You're not one of those.
Yeah,
no,
I'm actually not. No, if I was, we've said this before, if I was, we'd both be driving nicer cars and living in nicer houses. I think Funkhauser would like it if I was a bit more of a prima donna because, prima donnas make all the cash in this sort of game. But anyways, I digress. We were figuring each other out, and I said to Funkhauser, I was like, hey, I don't remember what the bit was, but have you ever joined the Mile High Club? Have you ever, gotten busy on a plane? He was like, nah, no. Couple days later, he was like, I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, no, I forgot. I am in the Mile High Club. I was like, oh, how'd you manage to forget that? Where was it? When was it? How'd this happen? Maybe we can talk about this on the air. He was like, well, it was with a porn chick on a private jet. I was like, hold the phone. You just blew my mind all over my face. Not only have you joined the Mile High Club, but you did it in more stunning style than any other person on the face of the earth did. And that's when I realized Funkhauser has this other job that he does sometimes. It involves not living with. Well, actually, no, you did live with for a while.
Yes,
a member of the
let's
adult
be clear.
Entertainment industry.
It
as
is
a
the
roommate.
same. It is the same career field. However, it is a different job.
Yeah.
I am a performer in a different way.
Yeah, at no point does Funkhauser work with his pants off, but he is one of the behind the scenes people in the adult entertainment world, and as such, he comes into contact with certain events and people that
come into contact. I sure do there.
Yeah, well, I would put it this way: Funkhauser's everyday work experience in his other line of work. he does stuff every single day that if it happened to either of us once, it would be the story we told at bars until we died. It would be like, okay, you tell that story about the one time that you got busy on a private jet with a porn star. Okay, that old chestnut again. Gather around, boys. And like, Funkhauser forgot it because it's so commonplace in his life. So this is the sort of thing Funkhauser forgets. He's lived such an awesome and interesting life. Look, the Westboro Baptist Church are definitely going to be boycotting Funkhauser's funeral if he remembers to tell the world what he's done. But like, so he's done all this crazy ass stuff, and if he manages to forget that he had relations with a porn star on a private jet, then he's got to forget some other stuff. So that's why I say to you, Funkhauser, I really, really want you to think.
Okay.
And you can answer this question later.
Uh-oh.
But have you, during an office holiday party, ever hooked up with a coworker, or I don't know, maybe not necessarily a coworker, maybe you George Costanza the maid or something like that? I don't know, but I want you to really, really think about whether or not that happened to you. And if it didn't, I'll be surprised. Why? Because I'm sitting here with a list all about holiday office party hookups, and good grief. Stuff happens a lot more often. Like, I feel like this is a party that I have not been invited to because, I mean, it's really, I'll say right here, right now, nothing like this has ever happened to me. But apparently, absolutely everybody is doing it. It's crazy.
Not
Absolutely
me. I'll
nuts.
tell you one thing. That's one line I don't cross.
Well,
that company ink. You can't really
dip the pen in it.
Yeah, I go to Office Depot for that.
Keep the old quill sheathed. But I was genuinely shocked, and not much shocks me. I was genuinely shocked about the amount and frequency and number of people who were engaging in office party hookups. It blew my mind, and we'll get to it a little later. Right now, though, let's take a look at the events of today in our segment, My Witness News. In no way, shape, or form fair, certainly not balanced. Oh, by the way, the whole reason that I decided to talk about people getting it on at office parties is because, I wanted to name the show The Sexy Party. That's what today's show is called, right, Funkhauser?
Right, yes, The Sexy Party.
Yeah, and that's really so we can break out the Stewie acts and be like, it's time for a sexy party. Sexy party time. Party. Yes. This calls for a sexy party. Okay, go on.
Pamela Anderson announced she posed naked for Playboy's final nude issue. The last one. Yeah. You know what? Playboy's final... Playboy, in case you somehow managed to miss it, and that's possible because who reads magazines anymore anyway, and who really cares what goes in them, but Playboy will no longer be featuring nudity. It will be sort of like, I don't know, I guess kind of like Maxim or something like that. Finally people actually will be reading Playboy for the articles because there won't be any boobs I learned why. They can't sell ads. There's used to be like 30% ad placement, and now they can't even get like 10% ads. So there ain't no money.
That's weird. That's really weird. I mean, like,
I think they just kind of dropped the ball completely. Those people over there.
I mean, the people that like sell the ads, nudity never stopped them from being able to sell ads in the past, but I guess they probably profited off of circulation. Like, nowadays, media is really all about ad sales. Like, if you have anything that 10,000 people look at, on a regular basis, it could be a podcast, it could be a YouTube channel, it could be, 10,000 people is sort of the magic number that you need to be self-sustaining on something like that. And I guess, like, really, if you don't have enough people looking at the content, you can't sell ads. And like in the past, because, you could see boobs in Playboy, people were buying it, but now you can see boobs literally anywhere at all. In fact, it's kind of hard to avoid boobs on the internet, I find. I'm like, oh, man.
It's like you're getting attacked every time you go on the internet.
Yeah, it really
There's another
is,
two. There's another two.
But they're going out in style. Pamela Anderson has announced that she's posed naked for Playboy's final nude issue, which is awesome news for people convinced it's still 1991. Go on.
The number.
I wonder how it's gonna look. Do you like how old is she? Isn't she like pushing 50 now?
She's over. I think that's at this point. Yeah, she's up there.
How old is she?
Yeah, I don't know.
To Google. Oh, and there's one of those things. Can't escape the boobs. Put in Pamela Anderson.
Well, you Google Pamela Anderson there. It's like you're asking for it.
Yeah, it really kind of is. She's 48.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She's 48 years old, so not yet 50. She's pushing 50. So, yeah, interesting. There's so many pictures of her, though. I'd like to say, like, oh, she's looking good or she's not, but I don't know when these pictures are from.
Yeah.
But
she's always
Pamela
looking
Anderson,
good, though. You know, they draw her together every time she goes outside.
It'll be draw her together. Wow, I'm looking at a 90s picture of her. She really looked like her chest ornaments are, like, by today's standards, laughably small. Like, I guess she got known for being a chesty blonde back in the day, but if you saw this now, it would be nothing. I think people need, like, it's weird. I think people need more and more and more to, like, you know, catch their eye. It's because so much is being thrown at you digitally, literally all of the time, that, you know, they got to do the craziest stuff to make you click on things or make you stop and go, oh my God, that's insane. I guess I'll click on that rather than the tasteful nude here. Like, I'm looking at a picture of Pamela Anderson back from the 90s, and it's just like you would never even think of her as, wow. That's incredible, because she was, you know, known as being the most.
Did you not see those
jaw-droppingly
pictures when you were over there on the other side of the pond there?
No, you know what? In England, Baywatch was huge. Baywatch was much more successful in England than it was in America, just because in England, they'd never seen anything like it. In England, they didn't have pretty people with nice teeth that had plastic surgery.
Don't they have something like Page 6 or something where there's...
no, Page 3.
Naked girls
where
in the newspaper?
Yeah, and they're all like just, you know... But, like, I think the thing is, it's like it was more the beach than anything else that had something to do with it, and the types of women. Like, if you look at Page 3, they were just sort of like girl next door types with their shirts off. Like, it wasn't like they were now it's all different. Now, I think, you know, England is like the plastic surgery capital of the freaking world. But back then, you know, like, English people didn't get cosmetic surgery. English people didn't tan. English people didn't have fake boobs or fix their teeth or things like that. So it was the type of people on Baywatch. You know, like in LA, everybody looked like that, you know, or in America, that was a well-documented phenomenon. But in England, yeah, that was the biggest thing ever. So, but I never really watched it because I realized by the time that, like, Baywatch got big in England, and, you know, also, like, you know,
wasn't there a delay,
parents,
2 or 3 years, 5 years or something from...
I don't know. All I knew was, like, Baywatch, you know, started coming on, and I would, like, remember starting to watch it, and then it was just like, I was like, I would watch the opening credits for the slow motion jogging lifeguards. Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, all the rest of it seemed to focus on David Hasselhoff's relationship with his loser son, and I was just like, I don't need to watch this. So, and then your parents start to cotton on to what you're watching. It becomes awkward. You're like, Baywatch time, and you're, like, really too young to be interested in this sort of thing. And they're like, why is he watching Baywatch? And then they see the opening credits, and they go, I know why you're watching Baywatch. You're like, no, it's an interesting story about a man and his dad. I mean, like,
the plot is really growing.
Yeah, I'm learning how to save people on the beach. So, yeah. Anyways, go on.
The number of women accusing porn star James Dean of sexual assault continues to grow.
Yeah. He's like Bill Cosby, but with less honorary doctorates to return. This is an interesting story, and like, not trying to make light of it at all. When it first happened, I got a really thoughtful email from a listener to the show called Lisa, who was like, I don't understand why you're not covering this. This is a big deal. And I was like, you know, there's so little information out there. And, like, rape, sexual assault, I mean, he'd flat out been accused of rape. It started with this one porn star, Stoya. Because James Dean is, like, I guess, kind of known in the... Funkhauser, you might know a little bit more about this. But James Dean, women loved this guy. Like, loved him. I guess he had this kind of, like, nice guy next door quality to him. Why did people love this guy so much, Funkhauser?
Oh, I don't know. I want to let everything pan out before I comment on it.
No,
I'm not ready to
I'm
comment on it. Because he's an attractive guy. He looked like, what's his name? The real James Dean, you know?
He did? Oh,
yeah,
I thought he was
just a strapping young lad with an excellent downstairs, I guess. A little shorter than I thought he would be, but that's okay.
I think in that particular world, there's a lot of strapping young lads with an excellent downstairs. But I thought, like, people were into James Dean because he was a super nice guy. But, like, this one porn chick, Stoya, she was like, you know, it kind of sucks to wake up in the morning and see people on the internet calling some guy a feminist when he raped you. And all of a sudden, can open, worms everywhere.
is USA Radio News. I'm Melody Burkett. President Obama addressed the nation Sunday night. Senior correspondent Jason Wirt has more.
President Obama gave a rare address from the Oval Office Sunday night, speaking to Americans about the two terrorists in San Bernardino.
The two of them had gone down the dark path of radicalization, embracing a perverted interpretation of Islam that calls for war against America and the West. They had stockpiled assault weapons, ammunition, and pipe bombs. So this was an act of terrorism.
The president went on to use the situation to call for more gun control and for tolerance of Muslims. I'm Jason Wirt.
Meanwhile, San Bernardino County employees are looking forward to getting things back to normal.
There is much to be done in the coming days and weeks. And our focus today is supporting the victims and their families.
Today, County Supervisor James Ramos said the people who were killed last Wednesday were county employees. This is USA Radio News. I'm Melody Burkett.
This report is brought to you by Pfizer. If symptoms of a health issue slow you down, you're not alone. Your employer feels it too. According to a recent report by the Institute for Health and Productivity Management and Pfizer Inc., a survey of 35 employers revealed that conditions like allergies, low back pain, and heartburn cost employers millions each year. One corporation reported $3.25 million lost annually in worker productivity because of these ailments. Other studies confirm that health issues result in significant costs to businesses, as impacted workers are often absent and less productive. However, help can come through access to over-the-counter medicines or OTCs. Studies estimate that every $1 spent on OTCs saved the U.S. healthcare system $6 to $7 by reducing physician visits and medical expenses. Broad access to OTCs for the self-care of common ailments can help people find faster symptom relief, produce cost savings, and prevent lost productivity. Learn more about OTCs as a resource for self-care and wellness at
Real classy. Why don't we just go to the story?
What's trending?
Check out Week 13 in the NFL. Sunday night, it was the Steelers beating the Colts 45-10. Quarterback Ben Roethlisberger had 4 touchdown passes for the Steelers, who improved to 7-5 on the season. They're tied with the Chiefs and Jets for the wild card spots in the AFC, but Pittsburgh does not have the tiebreaker over either Kansas City or New York. In late action, the Eagles beat the Patriots 35-28. New England, with that loss, drops from the number 1 seed in the AFC down to the 3 seed. They are trailing now the Bengals and the Broncos, who both won on Sunday. Panthers are 12-0 after outscoring the Saints 41-38. Cam Newton had 5 touchdown passes as Carolina wins the NFC South Division for the 3rd year in a row. In college football, the playoff matchups are set. In one national semifinal, Clemson will face Oklahoma. That's in the Orange Bowl. In the other national semifinal, it's Alabama against Michigan State. They'll meet in the Cotton Bowl. In the NBA, the Warriors beat the Nets 114-98. Golden State's now 22-0 on the season. I'm Eddie Garcia.
Now, a year in rock spotlight, 1969.
Low-budget film Easy Rider captures the public imagination with a soundtrack by Steppenwolf, the Byrds, and the Electric Prunes. The Woodstock Music and Art Fair is held August 15th through 18th on Max Yasgur's farm in Bethel. 32 of the biggest bands of the day played to a crowd estimated at 500,000. The event is later released as a movie and album. And with the boost from their appearance at Woodstock, San Francisco band Santana hits the top 10 with their debut album, Evil Ways. The festival undoubtedly immortalized Jimi Hendrix and ushered in the era of large rock concerts and arena rock bands. Also in October, Led Zeppelin have their only U.S. top 10 hit when Whole Lotta Love reaches number 4. The Allman Brothers Band released their debut album on Capricorn Records to good reviews but limited sales. And 7 years after his last number 1, Elvis Presley tops the charts with Suspicious Minds.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1969. Coming up. iHeartRadio goes one-on-one with Mike Rutherford to ask what he enjoys most about being an artist.
I think the songwriting, collaboration. I mean, I love the concerts, and it's great, but my real passion is writing new music and new songs. And there have been so many great moments for me.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Mike Rutherford and all your favorite artists.
more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD, and can't nobody rock a party better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD, and can't nobody rock a party better than me.
December 7th, 1941, the day which will live in infamy. 9 survivors of the USS Arizona remain. The last surviving officer, who passed earlier this year, will have his ashes placed in the ship as part of the memorial today. A day after the attack, FDR addressed the nation saying, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. Like I said, 9 remaining survivors of the USS Arizona. Most of them are in their 90s. Joseph Langell, last surviving officer of the ship, passed away back in February at the age of 100. And today his ashes will be interred in the sunken ship during a special memorial. When news of the attack on Pearl Harbor was broadcast on the radio, some of the first fears for Oregonians were for the Willamette University football team and fans in Honolulu. They had traveled to Hawaii for a bunch of postseason games known as the Shrine Bowl against the University of Hawaii and San Jose State. The first game was played December 6th before a crowd of 24,000 people. The Bearcats had suffered a 20-6 defeat, but many of the Oregonians were still looking forward to several days of post-game festivities. The Willamette team and fans from Salem, they were waiting outside the Moana Hotel for a bus tour to take them on a sightseeing tour of the island and a picnic. They were planning to see Pearl Harbor. Black oily smoke filled the air. And as the team and their supporters saw that, they realized that they were witnessing a momentous event. In the aftermath of the attack, the football team was enlisted by the Army. They're just there to play like kind of some postseason exhibition games and have a good time, go on a bus tour and a picnic. And the football team was enlisted by the Army to fend off a possible Japanese invasion by water. It's crazy. And the football team, right after this happened, got their orders. They were enlisted, and their first set of orders was to string barbed wire on Waikiki Beach at low tide. As college football players, they were issued bolt-action Springfield M1903 rifles from World War I and given just a little bit of training. And they were told to be prepared to defend the beach. A little after that, they were assigned to Punahou High School in the hills right over Honolulu because, well, they were worried that water towers and storage tanks nearby could become the targets of sabotage. These college football players moved into the dormitories and classrooms and went on sentry rotation. College kids given World War I rifles and a little bit of training all of a sudden found themselves in this precarious situation where they were literally on the front line of a conflict no one imagined. Virtually everyone from that year's football team enlisted in the service. And all but one, a guy called Bill Reeder, survived the war. It's crazy. I just uploaded this picture to Facebook. We got to do this sometime, Funkhauser. Remember I told you, like, my grandfather, both my grandfathers fought in the Second World War. My grandfather on my English side was in British intelligence, and he stormed the beaches at Normandy. And not many of his stories exist. He wasn't big on talking about that sort of thing. And when he did, it was like, everybody come quick. He's, telling these incredible stories from the war. But he was in the British intelligence, stormed the beach at Normandy, kissed by de Gaulle. My other grandfather, he flew planes for the Navy, shot down behind enemy lines in Iwo Jima, Crazy, crazy stories. And his stories do exist because my uncle, who later on went into advertising and then photography, started his career as a DJ on 96 WCMF in Rochester, New York, home of Brother Weeze for a little while. You know the Weeze, Funkhauser?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, anyways, he's this...
East Coast, West Coast rivalry there. I don't know those guys.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. But anyways, my grandfather... I just posted a picture to the Facebook page to remember those who responded to the attack on Pearl Harbor, this date in 1941. And there's my grandpa. There's Gramps in his Grumman Avenger before taking off from an escort carrier in the Pacific for his nightly reconnaissance mission. But my grandfather, my uncle, who was a DJ for 96 WCMF in Rochester, New York at one point, used his sort of like DJ audio abilities to do a fantastic interview with my grandfather. Like my grandfather was some sort of, celebrity on This Is Your Life or something like that. And it did just a stunningly good interview. I mean, it's an amazing piece of audio where he talks about this stuff and he tells... What do you think, Funkhauser? If I got like the audio of my grandfather telling stories about being shot down behind enemy lines in Iwo Jima, is that something people would be interested in, or is that just me being it?
You can ask Twitter. I'm sure they'd be interested in it. Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think we have to. I mean, it's a really long interview, and it details a bunch of family stuff that I don't think anyone would be interested in. But the stuff about him being sort of like in the military is crazy. And it was sort of like it was a time where there were no conscientious objectors to the war. There was, people that were upset that they couldn't pass the physical, or people that were upset that they couldn't make it into the military to stand up for our country. Very, very different times. Very, very different enemy. As well. Here was this clear and present bad guy. That's why, like Nazis. Nazis are... This is why it's good for people like Quentin Tarantino to make movies about Nazis. If you need a clear and defined bad guy that's easy for the entire audience to hate and to cheer for when you garrote them or when their head explodes, Nazis. And in this day and age, we don't have that. We don't have this clearly defined definition of evil, which on one hand makes life more complicated. On the other hand, it's good. Well, no, hold on, we do. In fact, we're right in the middle of it. We have ISIS. More on that in a little bit.
You better be going with something that's real to get ahead of me. Keeping my record is undefeated, and I'm just speaking the facts. I'm not conceited, cause my skills on the mic keep me paid like every day. It's like a weekend warrior in every way. I'm so totally awesome, and you totally.
Now, a year in rock spotlight. 1971.
The Doors released their sixth and final studio album, L.A. Woman, while Paul McCartney releases his second solo album, Ram, which goes to number 1 UK and number 2 US. The album includes several jibes of John Lennon and the number 1 single, Uncle Albert Admiral Halsey. In May of 71, soul singer Marvin Gaye releases his concept album What's Going On and has 3 top 10 singles. And Rod Stewart's third solo album goes number 1 and has a number 1 single, Maggie May. In July of 71, The Who releases Who's Next that tops the charts in the UK and goes to number 4 in the US. The Allman Brothers released their breakthrough live double album at Fillmore East. And in August, the concert from Bangladesh, organized by George Harrison and Ravi Shankar, is held in New York City. In addition to the organizers, Eric Clapton, Bob Dylan, Badfinger, Leon Russell, and Billy Preston appear.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more from 1971. Coming up.
Welcome to today's lottery drawing. And today's winning numbers are not yours, not yours, and another number that's not yours. And the final number is not yours.
When it comes to having money, don't rely on luck. Brew your own coffee at home instead of buying that latte. Brown bag it to work instead of ordering it. Go to feedthepig.org for more free ideas on how to save. Feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Now, someone who everybody wants to punch in the face. AD on the radio.
Oh, wow. I just tweeted out that picture we were talking about, Funkhauser, of my grandfather getting ready to take off from an escort carrier in the Pacific for his nightly reconnaissance mission. Lisa tweeted, but one of our listeners, Lisa, tweeted out her grandfather was on the ground in Iwo Jima. That's where my grandfather was shot down, behind enemy lines in Iwo Jima. That's amazing. And there's a picture of her grandfather. One of his troops, I guess, identified him. That's an amazing picture that was just tweeted to us by Lisa. Incredible. You know what's interesting? Like this interview with my grandfather that I hope to play one day, or at least part of it. Like, he talks about building his own house, like, which is not uncommon back then. And, you know, like, did you know anything about building a house? No, but, you know, buddies did. And it was like, hey, today we got to put in insulation, or today we got to put in heating, or today. And, you know, like, just buddies from the office would come over and, you know, help a guy out, because nobody really had money for anything. If you wanted something, you kind of had to build it yourself 9 times out of 10. And, you know, they didn't let the fact that they didn't know how to build a house stop them from building in a beautiful house that housed all their kids. And it really was, in terms of all that sort of thing, the greatest generation. Like, I mean, you know, everybody seemed to like pursue educations because that's what you did. Everybody was brave because that's what you did. You were called upon to be brave, and that was it. And I'm not, you know, trying to unnecessarily romanticize the past, but like, my grandfather, way more of a man than I will ever be. And he was, you know, surrounded by all these guys. This guy got a full scholarship to Cornell University, like a math whiz that went off to pilot planes for the Navy in the Second World War. And that's what him and all his buddies did. You know, it's just manly men doing manly things, being smart, taking risks, you know. And it's just like, if you've lived through the war, you know, if you've been shot down behind enemy lines in Iwo Jima and lived to tell the tale, the idea of like, we'll build a house, it's not that daunting. What life throws at you after that, kind of easier to assimilate it. I don't know. It's very, very interesting stuff. Very telling about where we are and who we are and what we've become, and maybe how these days of remembrance, remembering those who responded to the attack on Pearl Harbor, are very important, and that they remind us of the potential in ourselves that maybe we're not meeting. And if there was a time where we needed, you know, people, the best in people, for people not to act out of fear, but for a time for people to act out of bravery and love, the way folks like my grandfather did, now would be it. Now, when there is finally that clear and present enemy, that clear and easily defined evil, clear and easily defined, not easy to catch, because you never know who the hell they are or what they're doing, then it is not a war like the ones our grandparents waged. But if there was a time where we needed to look back and be inspired by the bravery and love that these men acted out of and the principles by which they lived their life, I'm not saying everybody run out and enlist, but, you know, what people had in their hearts, firmer stuff, I think, than I have now in this day and age. And it sort of like is a reminder that somehow, some way, we got to be better, I think. Please continue, Funkhauser. Let's roll through what remains of the news before we talk about hooking up or not at office Christmas parties, he said, after deciding we all needed to be better. Let's see who nailed the chubby temp in accounting under the mistletoe. We'll do that later on in the show because we tackle the big issues. Go on.
Fox is developing a Rambo show.
Yeah, Rambo. You remember Rambo. Long hair, bandana, patriotic weapon lover. A lot like Ted Nugent. Go on.
Yeah. Kylie Jenner says she has no plans to go to college.
Right. In news that is incredibly unsurprising, Kylie Jenner has no plans to pursue a higher education.
I'm already smart.
But if she did, it would seem appropriate for her to go to Ball State.
Ooh. That's not a good one.
Go on.
Jay-Z turned 46.
Yeah, Jay-Z turned 46 this past week, just gone by. Last Friday, I think. Yeah. Which means one of his 99 problems is now having to get up to pee in the middle of the night.
That joke's going to be with us for 50 years, watch.
Yeah.
Starting
until
today.
Jay-Z dies every year in December.
He's got 99 problems and an old joke ain't one.
He looks good for 46. You know what? Intellectually, if you think about it, that makes sense that he's pushing 50. Just because Jay-Z's been around forever. Like, he was one of those early 90s rappers, I think. That when did Jay-Z's first album come out? Mid-90s, right?
Sure. You know,
sure.
I'm not up on my Jay-Z discography, but I'd say the early 90s, probably a little later, like 97, 98.
I mean, he was huge by 97, 98. That's when Hard Knock Life came out, and that's when Can I Get a What? That was Jay-Z's, that was when he became humongous, but he started working before that. But he's been around since we were kids, and it just doesn't seem like he's, it doesn't seem like he's aged in that. He doesn't seem like he's aged musically. It seems like every time Jay-Z puts out a record in the world of hip-hop, it is something groundbreaking and forward-thinking, and he's leading, not following. Never a follower. Jay-Z. Anyways, go on.
A new dating website for people obsessed with all things Disney launched yesterday.
No kidding. I wonder if it's...
Mom, you're married. Come on.
I wonder if Disney... I wonder if it's just for people that like Disney, or if it's... Yeah, but is it like... Can you look it up, Funkhauser? Is it a Disney website? Have Disney gotten to the dating game?
Oh, I don't think it's a Disney website. What do you look for? Dating website? Disney, right? Let's look for that. That's all these news things. Disney dating. AYI.com.
Yeah, so I guess it's not an actual Disney thing.
Nah.
That's,
Uh-oh, spam. Oh, no. Nobody Google that.
Nobody Google that. You immediately got an email, didn't you?
It just started going other places on the email thing.
Disney dating website. Sounds pretty goofy to me. Do we have a name for it? Nerdy Harmony?
Someday my prince will email me, poke me like me.
Under DC. Go on.
Oprah Winfrey is publishing a memoir. You get a memoir. And
you get a memoir. And you get a... Yeah. I wonder what's going to be top of the list in Oprah's book club. Oprah Winfrey memoir. Why would anyone want to read that? Replied absolutely zero middle-aged housewives. Go on.
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says, quote, I think our officials do an extraordinary job. Unquote.
Oh, really? Sounds like the mandatory drug testing in the NFL needs to include the commish. All right. Well, one last piece of news, Funkhauser.
McDonald's is testing table service in Southern California. What's that? Like, can
table
I give
service?
you a
That's
drink
like
and stuff?
Yeah, that's fancy. Like, come sit down. Will this table be okay for you during your McExperience?
How many in your McParty?
Yeah, here's a McMenu. I was like, I say, what can you tell me about the Big Mac garçon? Oh, 2 all beef patties, lettuce, cheese, pickles, and onions. Oh, on a delectable sesame seed bun. Is there sauce?
Peruse the menu, and I'll be back with McWater later.
Yes. The sauce on the Big Mac apparently is special. That's McLovely. Yeah, table service, fancy schmancy table service at McDonald's. Because, if there's one thing McDonald's customers need less of, it's movement. All right, let's talk about the hookups at holiday parties, shall we? So you never have, right?
Who, me?
Never hooked up
nah.
at... Yeah, you never... Yeah, well, not so much. I never have either. And you know what? I don't think I've ever seen it happen. I don't believe I've ever seen the whole thing happen. But over half of us, over 50% of us, Like, if you haven't and you're talking to someone, that means they probably have. Over half of us have made out with a coworker at an office Christmas party. Have you? Have you ever made out with a coworker at the office party? No? Apparently, you're the weird one. A new survey finds that more than half of us have made out with their coworkers. And most of them go a lot further than that. Why? Because 39% of people have had sex with a coworker at the party. It's not like they've gone home with them for an inappropriate grope. No, they do it at the party. Just freaking blows my mind. Yeah. 39%. This means, I guess by this logic, it would mean that if we have an office party, Funkhauser, almost 40% of the people there are going to be getting it on at the party. I feel like I would have run into this. I've never had it offered up to me. Thank you very much. I'll ponder. Not that I would take it up. I wouldn't dip the old quill in company. There was one girl where I felt like I had a shot, actually. I'd take it back. Didn't act on it because, that's a wildly unprofessional move that would only mean lots and lots of trouble, and she seemed like a sloppy hoe because at that moment she was a sloppy hoe. She was drunk out of her mind. She's like, I need someone to take me home. I was just like, Uber, or I'll call you a cab or something like that. I just didn't even want to get into any of that because then you have to turn them down when they inevitably come on to you, and that's awkward and uncomfortable. So I didn't act on it, but it's only been offered up the one time, and it certainly wasn't at the party. The most common place to do it is out in the parking lot. Mm-hmm.
To do what?
The act. Yeah. Or hook up. Either you're hooking up or you're I'm trying to think of a Christmas sex euphemism that won't get us fired.
None of them. Well, I mean, we can only bring one person to our party this year, so I think they're, influencing this to happen here.
Yeah.
Corporate incest is frowned upon.
Anyways, the conference room came in second. Even more surprising, people in the IT department are most likely to hook up with a coworker at the Christmas party. The IT department, you dirty, you know what? They are over in their own little corner of the building here. I never would, nobody knows what the hell they do. Sounds like the IT department just spends most of their time getting it on.
They're fixing networks.
Yeah,
reconnecting lost connections.
Yeah, I'll reboot your hard drive. People in the legal department are second, and people in human resources, because, what are you going to do? Report me to me? People in the human resources department came in third. And if you think about it, both of those groups, in legal and in HR, should know better. But I think they have that immunity. They've got I'm not going to sue me. I'm not going to report me to me. I'll be fine. It'll be okay. Now these folks over in the IT department that were rebooting each other's hard drives. Yeah, got to do something about that. But would you like to come into my office and talk about what's coming down my chimney this year? We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you.